I'm Scott Lucas. This is today's EA Worldview on Syria. Is the Assad regime partners with the Islamic State of Iraq and ash-Sham? One of the current themes running through chatter about the Syrian conflict is that a deal has been done between supposed enemies. The regime of President Assad, far from being opposed to the Islamic State of Iraq, who has been fighting it across the north and east of Syria, has actually been a partner with it. That they have united against other Syrian insurgents and the Syrian people. But really? Are these supposed enemies actually allies? Let's take a look at one of the cases put forth by activists and some declared journalists about the conflict. Because when you do, you get a much more complex and even more interesting story. It's the case of the Islamic State of Iraq's oil fields and the sales to the regime. As the Islamic State of Iraq has gone through eastern Syria, it has occupied a number of fields that supply oil. These have not been massive amounts compared to, say, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, and Iran, but it's still significant, especially when you can make money off of that. So the Islamic State of Iraq has supposedly been selling oil not just to local people, but also to the Assad regime itself, which is badly in need of that oil to keep some type of energy supply going throughout the country. Yep. It's a true story. Deals have been done between the Islamic State of Iraq and the Assad regime. And not just those two groups. Jabhat al-Nusra, the Islamist faction, which has been fighting the Assad regime for years, has also sold to the devil. And other independent insurgents have also taken over oil fields and sold off the stock cheaply, including to regime authorities. Dirty deals are done in wartime. They're done out of necessity. The Islamic State of Iraq, Jabhat al-Nusra, other groups, they would like to get money. Money to buy weapons, money to feed their forces, money to spread amongst civilians to buy their support. The Assad regime, desperately needing energy, oil and gas under international sanctions, well, they'll take the fuel wherever they can get it. These deals have not only been done over oil. Local farmers and groups have sold off wheat and produce from insurgent-held areas to the Assad regime in exchange for access to facilities to refine that wheat, turning it into bread which is taken back to the insurgent-held areas. What's the point here? The point here is that war is messy. It's dirty, it's nasty, it's profit-seeking, and it's done as a matter of survival. And sometimes that matter of survival means that enemies come together and they make deals. The bigger picture is that President Assad did not create the Islamic State of Iraq and ash-Sham. He is not allied with it. He would very much like to see it disappear along with the other insurgents. He may in fact be happy to see the Islamic State of Iraq fight those insurgents, because after all, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. But that does not mean that we have an alliance. The truth is more complex, if not necessarily as good for a headline or a soundbite as the propaganda. I'm Scott Lucas. This is today's EA Worldview on Syria.